everyone, and welcome to Creation Depot. Today we're going to talk about how you deal with RGB to CMYK changes and what they are. If you found this, you probably are trying to figure out how to do the switch. I'll give you the quick answer and then I'll go into explaining it. So how you do the switch is right now this is a digital thing. It's a YouTube thumbnail, so it's RGB, which is for digital media. And to change it, I just go to Image, Mode, and then I have my choices right here. If I was going to print it, I would go to CMYK, and I'm going to walk you through all the things it's going to tell you that it's going to screw it up, and let me show you why. So Adobe Photoshop says changing modes will discard some adjustment layers, change the mode anyway. What it's referring to are, it's not going to let me click it, but what it's referring to is I have like vibrance and I have like certain levels set on some of these layers, and when I do this, it's going to mess up some of those changes or get rid of them. So I'm going to say okay, so we can see, and you have the option to merge it, which basically puts those things into the layer so that it doesn't go anywhere, but you also won't be able to change it in the future. So I can choose to merge, or I can click OK and let it discard. Then you'll see changing modes can also affect the appearance of smart objects. Now, smart objects are objects that when you set a layer to be a smart object or you import something as a smart object, that object doesn't get changed. Like, you can do things to it, you can modify it, but the object itself, you can still go back to zero. So that's what a smart object is. It's just letting you take the object and make changes to it, but you still have the original object preserved. Like, you can still go into the original object. And so it's saying that you can do that, but it's going to change some of the stuff. Filters that you've applied to them are going to get screwed up. Do you want to rasterize them before you make the mode change? Rasterizing them, again, just like the merging thing, it makes it one thing. And so that one thing, but going forward, you can't change it. And it's pixel based instead of being a smart object or vector based or some other thing. So the default here, if you don't know what to choose to rasterize it. It just means that you won't be able to modify that thing later. So I'm going to choose to rasterize. And typically if you're doing this, you're kind of at the end of your development anyway of what you're trying to do. So rasterizing it just almost doesn't matter at this point, because at this point you're just getting ready to print it. And if you're about to convert to CMYK using this US web-coded swap version 2 profile, I'm not going to get into what profiles are, but basically it's a set of rules that has to do with like an RGB, like I want the RGB to work this way. So we're agreeing to abide by these rules for this color concept. And we're going to say okay. Now, as you will notice, it changed things. So I am now in CMYK mode. You can see by looking up here, it says CMYK/8. It's 8 bits. So like what we're looking at is exactly what would print. The background here is more yellow than orange. The reds and the blues, they didn't change too much. And that's partially because I pulled them from my logo. When I developed my logo, I also made it like CMYK compatible, which is why it didn't change. But you'll see the background, which was very RGB friendly, is not like that anymore. It still looks nice. It's just if I were to print it, I would get these like lighter pinks and I would get these more yellow oranges, and the greens went kind of green instead of blue. So those are the changes that I can expect. I'm okay with this because if I were to print this, this still looks nice. But when you're working in RGB, it gives you a larger span of colors than your printer would like. Remember, even though a printer is working with CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, even though it's working with those 4 variants of colors to mix them all together to get the colors you want, it's still not going to give you I guess the breadth of colors that RGB will. So that's kind of what you're looking at with those differences. You can do stuff, typically what you want to do, even if your final is going to be, unless you've got something that is super color specific, like a major brand, like you're trying to stick super close to that color or something. But typically what you want to do is just for general workflow is to work in RGB. And then when you get to the end, you're getting close to the end, switch it over to CMYK so you can go in and fix all the little bugs that maybe the colors aren't the way you want them to be, or something like that. Like, you know, all the little bugs, because typically, you know, some filters are not available in CMYK that are available in RGB, and you want to have the biggest, playground to play on until you get to the very end, and then change it over and then fix it. That's a general workflow, especially if the stuff you're working with will maybe also be digital and printed. So you kind of get the best of both worlds doing it that way. It's just a preference. Sometimes people would rather have the restricted playground so that they can be more creative within what they've got. So it's just how do you want to play that thing? So that's what it is. That's how you switch back. And of course, if you want to switch back, and I will show you what happens when you switch back, you kind of get the same thing. Changing modes affects the appearance of layers. Yes, it does. Do you want to merge them? You can choose not to merge them. I typically do that. So again, I have my most flexibility. But you notice how now this doesn't necessarily look like, let me revert it. So take a good look at what it looks like right now. I'm going to revert it back. You see how it was still kind of yellow when before? So if I undo and then I go back and I redo, oh, too far. Redo RGB and then redo revert, right? So if this is my original, this is what it looked like. And then that's what it looked like in CMYK. And that's what it looked like when I switched it back from CMYK to RGB. So we're still dealing with more yellows here than we had before. So, or yellow or orangey reds is what I had before. So these are just color things you need to keep in mind, that you are playing by their rules. So just keep that in mind when you're going back and forth, and when you switch back, you're going to be more, that it's a little bit of a trick, because when you switch from RGB to CMYK, it converts everything to make it like print friendly. But then when you switch it back, it keeps it print friendly. So you're still working within the colors that, even though you have opened yourself up to having all these other options, you're still kind of within the CMYK realm. So that's kind of a trick. So if you want to see where you're at and then just kind of play with where you're at, but still be in RGB. Does that make sense? If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm very active on the YouTube channel, so I can answer back to the questions pretty quickly. And in future videos, I'll get into what color profiles are, and what it means when you smart objects are, and all the things I alluded to throughout this video. But that is the bare bones basic answer for if you need to answer like to a higher up why things are working the way they are and why colors maybe are not the way they should be. That's why. All right, that's it for now. Don't forget to go to the website. I do have an email newsletter I am starting to push, because I'm starting to kind of generate traffic for it. This is a small channel. If you want to go to the website, it's it is creationdepot.com/email to get on the new email newsletter. I'm trying to grow this channel, and we're still pretty low, but we're almost to 50 subscribers, so I'm ecstatic about that. It took me so long to get to 10 subscribers, and now it's just building, and that's exciting. But if you would consider subscribing, it does help boost the channel up in the YouTube, make the YouTube gods happy. So that is a great way to kind of help pay me back if this helped you out. And then also, please leave comments below, because not only do they help the YouTube stuff, but I think it helps everybody out. Like people answer each other's questions, and it's a great little community. So that's it for now, guys. I hope this helped you out. Take care. I'll see you later. Bye.